the Herdline News.
Well, you just mentioned the Warriors. They bounced back from, I don't know if it's appropriate to call it a blowout loss. It was a disaster of a game.
Hey, listen,
in Game 5.
That was a fun series.
It really was.
The new kids on the block and the old guys hanging on. It was a fun series.
It really was. And it had a lot. And that Game 5, outside of it being one of the worst watches in NBA history for anyone who wasn't a Grizzlies fan, was pretty remarkable. A team that wasn't a team that had won multiple championships. I don't know if they would have gone on to win the series after a loss like that. And they did that without Ja, which was so impressive from the Grizzlies. But they did get the win. Klay Thompson led scoring for his team, knocking down 8 3-pointers, 30 total points. And Steph Curry had 29, 11 of them coming in the fourth quarter. So they eliminated the Grizzlies 4-2 and will host the Mavs for Game 1 on Wednesday. This was an incredible series. It's obviously disappointing not to have Ja for the end of the series. I think it might have gone 7. And even though it didn't, I think obviously what you saw in this series was a young, fast, exciting, well-coached team that is on the rise in the Grizzlies.
Yeah, they draft well. Like Memphis has got it going. Like this is not just Ja. This is like a really good scouting department. Like they draft well, develop well. They're not going anywhere.
Their GM won Executive of the Year. Their coach is right there at the top for Coach of the Year.
Fans are crazy. It's a wild environment.
It's a great overall situation for Memphis right now. I don't think there's anything to hang your head about. This is a championship team. They have the experience. They're able to overcome. They don't get scared when they get down.
This is in the history of the NBA. You do not win that series if you're Memphis. Take the bubble year out. When the young teams won. Remember the bubble year was you and I were like, why are the young teams beating the old teams? Take that year out. Memphis never beats Golden State. The kid never beats the old guy that still has a punch left.
No, this was a great series. Yeah. And again, like they lost Ja, and that's an almost impossible thing to overcome. Like obviously they were a great team during the regular season without Ja. They went 20-5. Postseason is a different situation. You saw it for one game. They blew Golden State out. And then in the games at the end of the series, Golden State did what they do. So I think it's really exciting for Golden State, too. Like, they are playing a different type of basketball because they missed the postseason for a few years. They kind of had that downturn. If they win a championship again this year, it's an official dynasty.
They can throw Draymond for 15 minutes a half at Luka and Jonathan Kuminga, 6'7", 220, super athletic. Throw him for about 6 minutes a half. Wiggins a little bit. Phoenix doesn't really have any Chris Paul can't guard him. Booker can't guard him. Mikal Bridges can try, but Luka's thicker. I think Golden State has people that can throw at Luka and just get him down to shoot 46%. Average 29.5, not 32.5. Just make it a little more difficult.
Well, even outside of Luka, and you saw it because despite how badly things ended for Phoenix, let's not forget, it was a 7-game series. Dallas had their nights where they did not show up. You're going to have to live with Luka at some point. It's going to depend on the role players with Dallas because they're going to game plan for Luka, and Luka's going to get his buckets regardless. Yeah. Everyone else is going to have to step up. And are they going to be able to do that consistently against a team in Golden State that has won championships that knows how to overcome? Yeah. They're a very well matched up team. I think it'll go long. I think it'll be a long series, but that's going to be the question in that series. Well, Doc Rivers had some questions about whether he was in the hot seat already in Philadelphia, but apparently he won't have to worry about his future. Daryl Morey made it clear during exit interviews that Doc will return for a third season with this team. Morey said he loves working with Doc and that the organization believes he's a good coach and they have a strong chance to win a title with him. He was, I don't know if you heard any quotes from Doc. Yeah, he was very spicy. He did not really take any arrows at the end of this series, which... Look, I don't think that Doc doesn't work hard. That's not the question that I have with Doc Rivers. It's, he was kind of implying that, the writers and reporters were saying he doesn't care, or like he's not doing his best work or something like that. That's not the concern here. The concern is the Sixers haven't reached a conference final since 2001.
They've got really good players.
You have 2 Hall of Famers on your roster, banged up or not. At this point, we can't discuss injuries. Everyone's dealing with injuries. Everyone. And I don't want to lay this at the feet of Joel Embiid, who had an MVP level season and was dragging up and down the court, giving everything he had. One thing about Joel Embiid that I don't question is whether he cares about winning. Yeah. That dude cares. James Harden fell apart once again. He is not a postseason player. He is a all-time great scorer and a regular season player. He does not have any success in the postseason. That was on James Harden. You brought in James Harden to do that, and he gave you nothing in clutch time. I mean, literally nothing. Nothing in that game in clutch time. You could not rely on him in any capacity, not for scoring, not for playmaking, for anything. So I don't know what the Sixers are going to do. They may end up having to keep Harden. But
I've got strong opinions on that. That is, in fact, well, I'll talk about that.
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
He was not great in that series.
He was
in the second half. He was a ghost.
When people do things repeatedly, believe them.
Yeah,
I've seen this second half.
We have more than enough evidence that this is who James Harden is.
That's right. This is who he is now.
Yes. So the Bucks have been eliminated from the postseason, losing to the Celtics in 7 games, but Giannis still put up incredible numbers in the series. He became the first NBA player in NBA history to score at least 200 points, get at least 100 rebounds, and have at least 50 assists in a single series. He had 20 points, 9 assists, and 5 turnovers 25 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists, and 5 turnovers in Game 7 against Boston. I'm with you. I think if Chris Middleton is available, this is a different series.
Yeah, I do. It's nothing against Boston, but this is not a great enough. I mean, Grayson Allen was terrified to be on the floor. Bobby Portis was a liability. They have to have Chris Middleton giving them 18 to 23.
Well, we talked about this at the start of the postseason, that this year was very unique. There was no super team. Even the best team in the league, Phoenix, had holes. Every team had a vulnerability, and it felt like it was really open to anybody to make a run and win the championship. But obviously everyone's going to have their picks. But even now with the final 4 teams, I don't know how anyone can say with really strong conviction that they are for sure the team that's going to go on to win the championship. Everyone is very even, and to your point, none of these teams can overcome a major injury.
None.
So I mean, listen. You have to make do with what you have, and Giannis was incredible, but that's just a lot to overcome, losing your second best guy.
Yeah, we had the Heatles, then we had the Warriors with KD. We're going through LeBron got old, and the league's current situation is good, very good to good teams, all with a strength, cannot afford it. If Jaylen Brown got hurt for Boston, series is over.
Correct.
If Bam got hurt for Miami, can't win the series.
And that doesn't mean, that's not an excuse. It's just, this is probably always going to come down to the healthiest team, which
that's right.
Can be on the individual for taking care of their body, and some of it's luck. Luck favors the prepared.
Yeah.
You're going to have to rise up in certain moments, but Giannis was incredible. He still showed he's the best player in the league, but Boston took advantage of the situation, and kudos to them.
Good stuff. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
Miami won, and I remember watching an early Lakers-Blazers game. But the 70s, now I'm starting to be like, 8, 9, 10 years old, and it was a great time. I loved the NBA. What you're currently watching, as I watch this weekend, is you're watching the 70s NBA with way better marketing, way better revenue. The NBA is doing very, very well. But you have one really great transformational player per team surrounded by excellent players. I'll give you an example. In the 70s, they were called the Washington Bullets. They had Elvin Hayes, and then they had excellent players around him. Phil Chenier, Kevin Greavy, Bobby Dandridge, Wes Unseld. I remember them well, their uniforms. The Sonics had Gus Williams, who was their star from USC in his prime. But they had Jack Sikma and Lonnie Shelton and John Johnson and DJ, Dennis Johnson. And the Knicks had Walt Frazier was their guy, Earl Monroe and Dave DeBusschere. The Warriors had Rick Barry was their star. Then Jeff Mullen, Clifford Ray, the coach Al Attles. I can go through all. Portland had Dave Twardzik and Jeff Petrie and Maurice Lucas, but they had Bill Walton. They all had a Hall of Famer and then really nice complimentary pieces. Sixers, by the way, had Caldwell Jones and Bobby Jones and George McGinnis, but they had Dr. J. Dr. J was the first player that, the afro, the style, the hands, the swooping that we all kind of fell in love with in my age group. That's what we're watching. All of these teams have one great player. Tatum's going to be a Hall of Famer. Luka's going to be a Hall of Famer. Some would vote him in now if he retired. Giannis going to be a Hall of Famer. Steph's a Hall of Famer. And then there's no great teams left, though. Like the 70s, we don't talk about 70s teams. We don't talk about 70s NBA teams. There's no great teams. These are not great teams. Now, Golden State has the most offensive talent left. Celtics have the most defensive talent left. Miami's got the best depth and bench left. And Dallas has the greatest scorer left. All have something special. All 4 could win it. Absolutely. I think I like the Celtics in 6 over Miami. No great conviction. I think I like Golden State's matchup against Dallas in 6. I think health could be a huge factor. These teams are not good enough to overcome. None of them are good enough to overcome a big injury. They're just not. And I was thinking about it this weekend, flying back. I was reading Jeff Pearlman's book, Three Ring Circus, on Kobe, Shaq, and Phil Jackson. It's fantastic. The Lakers won 3 straight titles, and if Karl Malone was healthy, I think they beat Detroit for 4, and it was nothing but chaos. Kobe hated Shaq, Shaq hated Kobe, Phil Jackson was in Jerry West. It was a mess. It didn't matter. We watched the documentary, Joy and I did, Michael Jordan and Jerry Krause, and Rodman didn't show up, and Scottie Pippen is jealous, and Michael's a jerk, and he's punching Steve Kerr. It didn't matter. They won 6 titles. And we watched Klay and Steph and KD and Draymond, and Draymond and KD didn't get along. They're fighting. It didn't matter. They just won. Great teams can overcome injuries and vanity and scuffles and fighting and turmoil and chaos, and the GM hates the coach, and the coach hates the GM, and the GM hates the star, and the star, everybody's jealous. That's not what we have here. All 4 of these teams have absolute clear